You didn't press play by mistake. Maybe this is where grace was waiting to meet you again. And now it begins to whisper. A soft glow lights the corner of your room. The hum of your fan joins the quiet, and your phone rests in your hand, warm from the day's endless scrolling. It's late, later than you meant for it to be, but you're here now, in this moment, in the hush that has finally settled after hours of noise. You might have come here out of habit, or maybe it was the restless ache in your chest, the way your mind kept circling back to the feeling that heaven has been silent, closed, as if your prayers only echo off your ceiling and slide back into your pillow without an answer. You probably won't survive this life trying to outrun that feeling forever. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're awake wherever you are, let me know your city and what time it is there right now in the comments, because you are not the only one awake in this quiet hour. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You sit there, letting your shoulders drop, noticing the way your breath comes slower when you decide to notice it. The glow of your screen still lights your face, casting pale blue across your cheek as you wonder if this moment will be any different. If tonight you might hear something other than the hum of your own doubts. There's a photo on your wall, maybe a small cross, or a memory of a trip you took when your heart felt freer, when you were certain God was near. You glance at it and a memory stirs like a leaf turning in the water. Perhaps this is the hour when grace comes softly, not in fireworks or thunder, but in the quiet sigh of a soul that has run out of its own strength. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Outside, the world is still moving. Cars sweep down distant roads, headlights cutting through the dark. Somewhere a baby cries, and a mother rocks back and forth in the gentle rhythm of care that goes unseen by the world. In another window, a student stares at the glow of a screen, whispering a prayer. Before an exam, they're afraid to fail. The world holds so many prayers, so many small, unseen hopes. You might think your prayer is too small, too weak, or that you've prayed it so many times that even heaven is tired of hearing it. But here you are, still breathing, still hoping even in the quiet. It's strange how faith can feel like a breath you didn't know you were holding. How it can arrive in the middle of a sleepless night, asking nothing more than your honesty. Tonight, you are invited to let go of the pressure to say the perfect words, to perform your faith like a flawless recital. Instead, let your faith be as small as a breath, as quiet as the thought that drifts across your mind when you're too tired to fight your fear anymore. Let it be the sigh you let out as you realize you're not alone in this moment. You remember the parable of the mustard seed, that faith the size of something nearly invisible can move mountains. Perhaps tonight, your mountain isn't meant to be moved by your strength, but by your letting go. Maybe the mountain will not move in the way you want, but grace will carry you up its side one small step at a time in the dark, with nothing but your breath to guide you. You notice how your fingers relax when you unclench them, how your jaw softens when you let it, how your shoulders ease when you let them fall. You are allowed to rest here. You are allowed to let go of holding yourself together for for one night to let the Spirit breathe where you cannot. Think of your day. How many times you checked your notifications? How many times you looked for a message that didn't come? How many times you thought about whether God was listening? You might have whispered a prayer in the middle of those small moments, not even realizing it was a prayer. A please, a help, a God, are you there? Whispered in a bathroom mirror or in the silence after hanging up a call that left you feeling alone. There was a moment today when you were washing your hands and you paused looking at your reflection in the mirror, seeing the tiredness in your eyes. You wondered if it mattered, if any of it mattered, if God saw you, if this small life you live in your small corner of the world is known, is loved, is held. And the thought passed quickly because you had to keep moving, keep doing, keep scrolling, keep answering. But here in this moment, you are allowed to stop. You are allowed to feel how tired you are, how much you need to know that you are not alone. You are allowed to know that God sees you right here, right now, in your room, in your loneliness, your questions. You might have heard it said that God is near to the brokenhearted, that he does not turn away from those who come to him in weakness. But maybe you don't feel that tonight, and that's okay. Feelings are like waves. They rise, they fall, they pass. The truth of grace is deeper than your feelings, quieter than your doubts, and more constant than your fears. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting beside a small stream. The water moves quietly, reflecting the moonlight, carrying leaves gently down its path. The world is quiet here. You can hear the crickets, the distant rustle of wind through trees. You can feel the cool air on your skin. You can take a deep breath, letting the air fill your lungs, letting it out slowly. You can imagine that this is what it feels like to be held by grace, to be known by God, even if you can't feel it fully. Tonight, there is no need to fix everything, no need to have the answers, no need to be strong, no need to have the perfect words. Tonight, it is enough to be here, to be honest, to be open, to be willing to let grace meet you in the quiet. You don't have to convince God to love you. You don't have to earn his attention. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all together. You can let go of the weight you've been carrying, the fear that your prayers are bouncing back from a closed heaven. You can breathe. You can rest. You can trust that grace is here, even in the silence. And if tonight you can't believe, if tonight your faith feels too small, if tonight all you can do is whisper, help that is enough, that is a prayer, that is faith, you are not alone. In the hush of this night, in the soft glow of your room, in the hum of your fan, in the rise and fall of your breath, grace is near. God is near. You are seen. You are known. You are loved. Let this be your prayer tonight, God. I don't know if you hear me, but I am here. And let that be enough. You let your eyes close for a moment, feeling the heaviness in your eyelids, the warmth in your chest as you breathe out the fear, the doubt, the worry. You let yourself be held by the quiet, by the moment, by the soft whisper of grace that says, you are loved even here. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You sit in the dim glow of your screen, your thumb hovering over the feed. You've scrolled 1,000 times, each swipe a small plea for something to ease the ache inside. It's late, and you tell yourself, one more scroll, one more reel, one more short clip that might make you laugh, distract you, teach you something. But underneath, you know what you're looking for isn't entertainment. You're looking for a small sign that you aren't alone. You're looking for a voice that says, you matter. You seen. The irony of it all is that you are surrounded by voices. AI-generated voices telling you how to manifest your dreams. Videos of people explaining how to find peace, influencers reminding you to stay grateful. Your phone is a cathedral of noise, an endless cascade of words promising you a better self if you keep scrolling. But tonight, as you lie here, you feel that silence beneath the noise, that sense that heaven feels closed, that your prayers are getting lost somewhere in the cloud. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You remember the parable of the shepherd leaving the 99 to find the one sheep who was lost. Maybe you've heard it before, or maybe it drifts in from a memory of childhood Sunday mornings. Tonight, it feels like you are that one sheep wandering through the algorithm, hoping God will break through the noise to find you. You pause your scrolling for a moment, noticing how your hand relaxes when you set your phone down, how your breath feels less shallow when you let yourself be still. The screen goes dark, and in that reflection, you see yourself tired, worn, but here. You wonder if maybe this is what it means to be found not in fixing everything, not in knowing all the answers, but in stopping long enough to let yourself be seen by the one who knows you. Your feed is filled with people you don't know, places you've never been, lives that look perfect in 30-second clips. You see friends getting engaged, people moving to new cities, others chasing dreams that seem so out of reach for you right now. You see spiritual creators sharing about their perfect prayer routines, their quiet times that look like something out of a coffee shop ad, and you feel that twist in your chest, wondering why your faith doesn't look like that. But what if faith tonight looks like this, you lying here in your room, whispering a small prayer that feels like it barely has enough breath to rise? You choosing not to numb the ache with another scroll, but letting the ache lead you to honesty. You resting in the quiet, letting grace be enough. It's easy to feel like your prayers are lost in the noise, drowned out by the hum of the digital world, by the constant flow of content designed to keep you engaged, distracted, consuming. The algorithm promises you connection, promises you peace, promises you answers. But what it delivers is endless, empty noise. It gives you momentary distractions, but leaves your soul hungrier, lonelier. Tonight, you're invited to step away from the algorithm, to put your phone down, to let your eyes close, to let yourself breathe, to let yourself feel the ache without running from it, to let yourself feel the loneliness without numbing it with noise, to let yourself whisper the prayer that has no words, the prayer that is simply your breath saying, God, I'm here. You remember a moment today, maybe when you were on the train or waiting in line, when you felt that emptiness rise, that sense of disconnection, that question, does God even hear me? You scrolled past a video of someone saying God has a plan for your life, and it felt like a cliche, like something people say when they don't know what else to say. But under the cynicism, there was a small spark of longing, a quiet hope that maybe it was true. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Imagine yourself sitting by a window, looking out at the dark sky, the city, lights blinking like small prayers rising into the night. You watch a car drive past its headlights, cutting through the darkness, reminding you that even in the dark, there is movement, there is light. You hear the distant hum of traffic, the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, the creak of your home settling around you. This is your life, your small, beautiful, ordinary life. It is not perfect. It is not always what you hoped it would be, but it is yours, and it is known by God. Every breath, every moment of doubt, every whispered prayer, every ache you can't explain, it is all seen, all held, all loved. You don't have to perform for God. You don't have to say the right words, have the right emotions, or present the perfect version of yourself. God is not the algorithm demanding your engagement to prove your worth. God is not waiting for you to curate your soul into something aesthetically pleasing. God is near even now, even here, even in your scrolling, even in your doubt. There is a quiet invitation tonight to put the phone down, to let your heart be honest, to let your soul rest, to let your prayer be simple. God, I don't know if you hear me, but I need you. And to let that be enough. 2. Outside your window, the clouds move slowly across the sky, unhurried, unbothered by the rush of the world below. They do not compete for attention. They simply are. Perhaps you too can simply be tonight. You can let yourself be loved, even if you don't feel it. You can let yourself be held, even if you don't understand it. You can let yourself be enough, even if you don't believe it. Tonight, as you lie here, as the world quiets, as your breath slows, remember this: you are not alone. Heaven may feel closed, but grace is never far. God is near, even in the silence, even in the scrolling, even in the moments when you feel most alone. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You lie there, eyes open to the dark, tracing the patterns of shadows on your ceiling, as if they might tell you something you've been trying to hear. The soft hum of the fan mixes with the faint sounds of the night outside, a car rolling by, a dog barking somewhere, the world continuing its slow, steady rhythm, while you are caught in the quiet tension of waiting. You wonder if heaven hears you tonight, if God sees you lying there, if your prayers are floating in the dark unseen. Outside your window, the clouds drift heavy and slow, moving across the night sky with a calm you long for. They don't rush. They don't compete with each other. They don't strive for attention. They move gently, quietly, in the direction the wind carries them, and in their quiet drifting, they remind you of something Jesus once said about the lilies of the field, about the sparrows that are seen, cared for, known. You wonder if it's possible that you too are known like that. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You think about the parable of the lilies, how they don't toil or spin, and yet they are clothed in beauty and care, in the tender provision of a God who sees even the smallest parts of his creation. You wonder what it would feel like to let go of the striving, the proving, the endless measuring of your worth against the highlight reels you see every day. You wonder what it would feel like to trust that you are enough, that you are seen, even if you do nothing. even if you simply exist, like the clouds drifting outside your window. Your day was filled with noise, notifications lighting up your screen, reminders of tasks unfinished. The quiet pressure that hums beneath the surface of every conversation, every meeting, every moment you try to keep yourself together. You moved through it smiling when you needed to, responding when you had to, pushing aside the questions that rose in your mind when you caught your reflection in a dark window, when you felt that sudden ache of loneliness you couldn't explain. You think about the ways you've tried to silence that ache, the ways you've filled your time and your mind to keep from feeling it fully. You think about the scrolling, the endless feed of content, the laughter, the opinions, the arguments, the moments of inspiration that fade as quickly as they come. You think about how you've tried to find God in it, in the words of others, in the sermons clipped into 30-second reels, in the quotes that promise you hope. And yet beneath it all, there is still that quiet question. God, are you here? You pause, letting the question linger, letting the silence be what it is. The clouds drift unhurried, unafraid, and you take a deep breath, letting the air fill your lungs slowly, letting it go just as slowly. You notice how your body relaxes when you let it, how your mind quiets when you don't force it to be silent, but let it drift like the clouds in the direction it needs to go. There was a moment today when you felt the weight of everything pressing down, maybe in the middle of a conversation that left you feeling unseen, or when you were alone, looking at the blue light of your screen reflecting in your eyes. You felt small, unimportant, unsure of your place in the world. You wondered if God saw you, if your prayers mattered, if the smallness of your life was worth noticing. And yet, you are here, breathing, existing, loved, even if you don't feel it. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Imagine yourself sitting on a porch in the early morning, a warm cup in your hands, watching the clouds move across a pale sky. The world is quiet. The day has not yet begun its noise. And in that stillness, you feel the gentle presence of something greater, something kinder than the voices that tell you to hustle, to prove, to keep up. You feel the invitation to simply be, to let your breath be your prayer, to let your presence be enough. The clouds remind you that you do not have to rush. You do not have to compete. You do not have to prove your worth to a world that measures value in likes and comments and the illusion of constant productivity. You are enough, even in your stillness, even in your quiet, even in your questions. You think about the people you saw today, the moments of connection that were small but real, a smile from a stranger, a message from a friend, a moment of shared laughter that felt like a breath of fresh air. These small moments are easy to overlook, easy to dismiss as ordinary, but they are threads of grace woven into the fabric of your day. Reminders that you are not alone, that God is present in the quiet, in the ordinary, in the moments you don't even recognize as sacred. Tonight, you are invited to rest in that sacredness, to let the striving go, to let the fear that you are not enough dissolve in the quiet. You are invited to let your breath be a prayer, to let your presence be enough, to let yourself be held by grace. You are not the sum of your accomplishments. You are not defined by your failures. You are not measured by your productivity or your ability to keep up with the expectations of others. You are loved. You are seen. You are enough, just as you are, in this moment, in this quiet. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. As you lie here, letting your breath slow, letting your mind drift, you can imagine the clouds outside your window moving gently across the sky, unhurried, unbothered, held by the wind that carries them. You can let yourself be like those clouds tonight, letting grace carry you, letting yourself be held, letting yourself rest. You do not have to force your faith to be something it is not. You do not have to perform for God. You do not have to have the perfect prayer, the perfect words, the perfect belief. You can let your faith be small, like a breath, like a whisper, like the quiet thought that says, God, I need you. And that can be enough. You are here, breathing, existing, loved. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You open your eyes in the darkness, the glow of your screen, now turned black, reflecting your tired face back at you as you lie there, the weight of the day pressing softly on your chest. You can still feel the phantom vibrations of your phone like it's waiting to pull you back into its endless scroll, reminding you that there is always more to see, more to learn, more to consume. It promises you connection, but leaves you with a hunger you can't quite name. The algorithm knows what you watch. It knows when you pause on a video about finding peace, when your eyes linger on a post about loneliness, when you slow down for a reel about faith. It learns your rhythms, your cravings, your patterns of searching. It promises you a version of connection, a sense of being seen in your pain, but it cannot hold you. It cannot quiet the ache that settles in your bones at the end of the day, the ache that wonders if heaven has closed its doors, if your prayers are lost in a feed of endless noise. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You remember the story Jesus told about the prodigal son, the one who wandered far away, chasing after what he thought would fill him, only to find himself empty, alone, longing for home. Tonight, you feel a little like that son scrolling through the endless feed, looking for something to satisfy the hunger that grows in the quiet of your room. You wonder if God is waiting for you, if grace is watching you even now, ready to meet you the moment you decide to put the phone down, to turn toward home, to whisper a small, honest prayer. You think about the moments today when you reached for your phone without thinking, filling every quiet space with noise, every pause with a distraction. You think about how you avoided the silence, how you ran from the questions that rose up when you let yourself be still. You think about how you longed to hear from God, but you didn't know how to listen, didn't know how to quiet the noise long enough to hear the soft whisper of grace. The algorithm feeds you endless content, teaching you, entertaining you, distracting you. It gives you quick answers, surface-level encouragement, snippets of wisdom that fade as quickly as they appear. But it cannot give you what you truly need. It cannot give you peace that settles deep in your soul. It cannot give you the quiet assurance that you are loved, that you are seen, that you are held by grace, even in your confusion, even in your questions, even in your loneliness. You pause, letting the silence settle around you, letting your breath slow, letting your eyes close for a moment. You feel the ache in your chest, the heaviness in your limbs, the quiet longing for something more than the noise, something deeper, something true. You think about the people you saw today, the faces behind screens, the messages that came and went, the posts that made you laugh, the stories that made you feel for a moment like you were connected. And yet, beneath it all, there was still that quiet emptiness, that longing for something real, something lasting, something that could hold you when the world feels too heavy. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Imagine yourself sitting by a quiet stream, the water moving slowly, gently over smooth stones, reflecting the moonlight in soft ripples. You can hear the water, the gentle sounds of the night, the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze. You feel the cool air on your skin, the way it carries the scent of the earth, fresh and alive. You take a deep breath, letting it fill your lungs, letting it out slowly, letting yourself be present in this moment. You think about the notifications that buzzed on your phone today, the constant reminders of things you need to do, people you need to respond to, the world demanding your attention. You think about how it felt to be needed, to be seen, to be connected, and yet how it left you tired, drained, craving a connection that goes deeper than a like or a comment. You wonder what it would feel like to unplug, to step away from the noise, to let yourself be still long enough to feel the presence of God in the quiet. You wonder what it would feel like to let your faith be simple, to let your prayers be honest, to let your breath be enough. There is a quiet invitation tonight to let go of the need to be constantly connected, to let go of the fear that you will miss something if you stop scrolling, to let go of the pressure to stay up to date, to stay informed, to stay entertained. You are invited to rest, to breathe, to let yourself be held by grace. You do not have to prove your worth to the world. You do not have to earn the love of God. You do not have to be perfect, to have it all together, to know all the answers. You can let yourself be here in this moment, exactly as you are, and know that you are loved, that you are seen, that you are held. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight, as you lie here, letting your breath slow, letting your mind quiet. You can imagine the water of the stream, moving, gently carrying leaves downstream, reflecting the light of the moon. You can let yourself drift with it, letting your worries, your fears, your questions float away for now, carried by the current of grace that is always moving, always holding you, even when you cannot see it. You can let your prayer be simple tonight. God, I am here. And you can trust that God is here too. In the quiet, in the dark, in the hush of this moment, holding you, loving you, even when heaven feels closed. You are here, breathing, existing, loved. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You shift under the soft weight of your blanket. The air around you cool the darkness, pressing in gently as your eyes adjust, seeing shapes in the shadows of your room. Your phone is silent now, the screen dark, resting beside you, like a quiet promise that you don't need to carry the noise tonight. And yet, in this silence, your mind begins to wander to the prayers you've whispered, the questions you've carried, the moments you've wondered if heaven is automated, if God is listening, or if your words are just drifting into empty space. You think about the apps you've downloaded, meditation reminders, prayer, journal, trackers, Bible study, notifications that buzz at 6 a.m. You think about how they promise you spiritual discipline, how they help you build routines, how they tell you to stay connected to God through consistency and structure. You think about how you've tried to follow them, hoping that if you checked all the boxes, God would hear you, that your prayers would somehow matter more if you prayed them at the right time, in the right way, with the right mindset. But tonight, you are tired. Tired of trying to get it right. Tired of feeling like your faith is another thing to manage, another thing to optimize, another thing to perform. Tired of wondering if your prayers are being marked as read by heaven, or if they're stuck in some spiritual inbox, waiting for a reply that never comes. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You remember the image Jesus gave of the shepherd leaving the 99 to find the one who was lost, carrying it home on his shoulders, rejoicing over its return. You wonder if you are that one tonight, wandering through the noise, the apps, the systems designed to help you feel close to God, but leaving you feeling more like a task to be managed than a soul to be loved. You take a slow breath, letting it fill your lungs, letting it out, feeling your chest rise and fall, letting yourself be present in this moment. You notice the tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your jaw, the way your fingers fidget even in the dark. You let your body relax, letting the bed hold you, letting yourself feel the softness of the pillow beneath your head, the quiet weight of the blanket across your body. There was a moment today, maybe in the middle of a meeting, or while you were driving, or as you scrolled through social media, when you felt a quiet ache, a longing for something more than what you were seeing, more than what you were doing. You felt the distance between your heart and the peace you long for. The sense that you were missing something essential, something that could not be found in the notifications or the checklists or the perfectly curated spiritual routines. You think about the people you follow, the voices that guide you, the influencers who share their faith so confidently, so beautifully, making it look easy, making it look like something you should be able to do if you were just a little more disciplined, a little more faithful, a little more spiritual. You feel the weight of comparison, the quiet shame that whispers, "Why can't you be like them?" The doubt that asks, "Why doesn't God feel close to you like that?" You close your eyes for a moment, letting the questions come, letting the doubts rise, letting yourself be honest about the distance you feel, the frustration you carry, the weariness that has settled deep in your soul. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Imagine yourself standing in a quiet room, the soft light of dawn filtering through the curtains, dust motes floating in the air, the world still and hushed. You feel the presence of something gentle, something kind, something that does not demand, does not rush, does not require you to perform. You feel the quiet invitation to simply be, to let yourself be seen, to let yourself be loved. You are not a project to be managed. You are not a system to be optimized. You are not a spiritual machine that needs to run perfectly for God to notice you, to love you, to hear you. You are a beloved child, seen, known, held even in your questions, even in your doubts, even in your failures. Tonight, you can let go of the pressure to get it right. You can let go of the fear that your prayers are not good enough, not consistent enough, not faithful enough. You can let go of the expectation that you need to earn God's attention, that you need to prove your worth, that you need to perform your faith perfectly. You can let your prayer be simple, honest, quiet. God, I'm here. You can let that be enough. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. As you lie here, letting your breath slow, letting your body relax, letting your mind quiet. You can imagine the presence of God surrounding you like a gentle breeze, like the soft light of dawn, like the quiet hush that settles over the world before it wakes. You can let yourself rest in that presence, letting the noise of the world fade, letting the demands of faith fall away, letting yourself be loved exactly as you are in this moment, in this quiet. In this, you are here, breathing, existing, loved. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You lie there, still, your room wrapped in a hush only the late hours can carry. Your mind replaying the moments when you almost whispered prayers today, but swallowed them back, telling yourself it wasn't the right time, or you weren't in the right mindset, or maybe it was too small to matter. But tonight, as the quiet deepens, you feel the memory of those moments rising like small lanterns in the dark. There was the sigh you let out when you closed your laptop after a long day, the way your eyes closed for a brief moment in the bathroom mirror when the weight of disappointment pressed on your shoulders. There was that moment when your call dropped mid-conversation, leaving you staring at your reflection on the black screen, whispering please under your breath, not even sure what you were asking for. There was that glance you gave to the sky, gray and heavy with clouds, as you stood at the bus stop, letting the cool breeze graze your face while you wondered if God was listening at all. You didn't think of them as prayers then. They felt too small, too unstructured, too fragile to count. But now, as the hush holds you, you wonder if perhaps they were prayers anyway, if perhaps heaven heard those quiet, wordless moments, if perhaps God was closer in those sighs and glances than in your carefully spoken sentences. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You remember the parable of the tax collector in the temple, unable to lift his head, only able to whisper, "Have mercy on me." It wasn't an eloquent prayer. It wasn't perfectly formed. It was a raw, honest cry from a heart that knew it needed grace. You think about how Jesus said it was that prayer, that quiet honesty that was heard, that was enough. You think about your own prayers, the ones you've tried to shape into the right words, the ones you've tried to speak with faith you weren't sure. You had the ones you whispered in the dark when you felt the loneliness pressing in. You think about how often you've wondered if God heard you, if your prayers reached beyond the ceiling, if they mattered at all. You take a slow breath, letting the air fill your lungs, letting it go, letting your body settle into the quiet of the night. You notice the way your shoulders drop, the way your jaw softens, the way your hands unclench when you allow yourself to stop holding on so tightly. There was a moment today, maybe when you were washing dishes or sitting in traffic, when your mind drifted and you thought, I can't do this alone. You might have brushed it aside, telling yourself to push through, to stay strong, to keep going. But maybe that was a prayer. Maybe that was the soft cry of your soul reaching out for grace, for help, for something beyond your own strength. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Imagine yourself sitting by a small fire, the flames dancing gently, the warmth reaching your skin, the crackle of the wood breaking the silence in a comforting rhythm. You watch the flames, letting your mind quiet, letting the warmth remind you that you are alive, that you are here, that you are allowed to rest. You think about the way you've measured your worth, by your strength, by your ability to handle everything on your own, by the way you've managed to keep going, even when you were tired, even when you were afraid, even when you felt alone. You think about how you've believed that faith means never feeling weak, never feeling lost, never needing help. But what if faith tonight is simply allowing yourself to need help? What if faith is letting your whispered help be your prayer, letting your sighs rise like incense, letting your weakness be met with grace? You are not required to be strong all the time. You are not required to have it all together. You are not required to carry the weight of the world on your own shoulders. You are allowed to be human, to be small, to be in need. You are allowed to let your weakness be seen, to let your need be known, to let your prayers be as simple as a breath, as honest as a sigh, as quiet as a whisper in the dark. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. As you lie here, letting your breath slow, letting your mind quiet, letting your body sink into the comfort of your bed, you can let yourself feel the presence of grace, soft and constant, surrounding you like a warm blanket, like the glow of the fire, like the quiet promise that you are not alone. You can let your prayer be simple tonight. God, I need you. And you can trust that is enough. You are here, breathing, existing, loved. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You are here, lying quietly, the weight of the day slowly slipping from your shoulders as the night holds you, the silence around you like a soft, sacred space. Your phone is finally put away, your eyes adjusting to the hush that comes when the glow of screens fades, and you realize how long it's been since you truly sat with yourself in stillness. The hum of the fan, the distant sounds outside a car, passing the soft rustle of trees in the breeze. These sounds remind you that the world continues without your constant attention, that you can let go for a while. You think about how hard it has been to disconnect, how the world tells you that to be unplugged is to fall behind, to miss something important, to become irrelevant. Your mind has been trained to crave the next notification, the next message, the next post, the next small dopamine hit that keeps you feeling alive, connected, seen. But beneath all that noise, is a quiet ache, a longing for something deeper, something that cannot be found in a scroll, something that no notification can deliver. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You remember the story of Jesus sitting at the well, tired and thirsty, resting in the middle of his journey. You remember how a woman came to draw water, carrying the weight of her shame, avoiding the crowd, seeking to stay invisible. You remember how Jesus saw her, truly saw her, and offered her living water, something deeper than what she had come for, something that would satisfy the thirst she could not name. You wonder if in your own way you are like that woman tonight, coming to the quiet, seeking something you can't fully explain, carrying the weight of your days, the unspoken worries, the hidden shame you try to manage alone. You wonder if God is sitting with you here in the quiet, ready to offer you something deeper than what you came for. Today, you may have reached for your phone the moment you felt the discomfort of silence, the instant you felt the loneliness pressing in, the second you sensed the questions rising that you didn't want to face. You may have filled every moment with noise, with learning, with entertainment, with connection that felt close but left you emptier once the screen went dark. You may have told yourself you were too busy to pause, too tired to pray, too restless to be still. And yet, here you are, in this moment, in this quiet, with the invitation to let go. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Imagine yourself sitting in a quiet room, a candle flickering softly on a nearby table, the scent of something warm and familiar filling the air. You are wrapped in a soft blanket, the weight comforting grounding, reminding you that you are safe, that you are held, that you are allowed to be here exactly as you are. The candlelight dances gently, casting shadows that move slowly across the walls, and you feel your breath matching the rhythm of that slow, sacred glow. You think about the fear of missing out, the constant sense that you need to stay informed, to stay connected, to stay productive even in your moments of rest. You think about how difficult it has been to unplug, to truly disconnect, to allow yourself to step away from the stream of information and opinions and curated lives that flood your feed every day. But tonight, you are invited to trust that you are allowed to step away. You are allowed to unplug, to disconnect from the noise, to let yourself be held in the stillness. You are allowed to let go of the fear that you will fall behind, that you will miss something essential, that you will become irrelevant if you rest. You are allowed to trust that God can hold the world while you rest, that grace continues even when you are not striving. You are allowed to let your faith be quiet tonight. You are allowed to let your prayer be a single breath, a single word, a single honest thought that says, God, I'm tired. You are allowed to let your tiredness be seen, your weakness be known, your need be met with compassion. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. As you lie here, letting your body sink deeper into the bed, letting your breath slow, letting your mind quiet, you can imagine the presence of God, like the soft glow of the candle, steady, warm, constant even when you cannot see it fully. You can imagine grace as the soft blanket around your shoulders, holding you gently, reminding you that you are loved, that you are seen, that you are enough. even when you are unplugged, even when you are resting, even when you are silent. You can let yourself be still tonight. You can let yourself be quiet. You can let yourself rest. You are here, breathing, existing, loved. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You breathe in the darkness, your chest rising and falling, the hush of the room like a soft tide that carries you deeper into stillness with each breath. The noise of the world feels far away now. The vibrations of your phone silence the pull of notifications quieted for this moment. You let yourself be here in this small sanctuary of quiet where you are allowed to simply exist without having to prove, perform, or produce. You think about how long it's been since you let yourself truly breathe slowly, deeply, without the rush of what's next pressing on your mind. You think about how your days are filled with doing, with striving, with moving from one task to the next, one obligation to another, never stopping long enough to feel your own heartbeat, to notice your own breath, to allow yourself to be present in the moment. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You remember the image Jesus gave of the birds of the air, how they do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet they are fed, cared for, held in the hands of the one who sees them. You think about how your life has been filled with striving, with the quiet fear that if you stop, everything will fall apart, that your worth is measured by what you can accomplish, what you can offer, what you can keep under control. But tonight, you feel the invitation to let go, to breathe, to trust that you are held even when you are not holding everything together. Today, you might have moved through your tasks on autopilot, checking off boxes, answering emails, managing responsibilities, while your heart felt disconnected, your spirit weary, your mind cluttered with thoughts you didn't have time to sort through. You might have felt the pressure to keep going, to stay strong, to hold it all together, even as you felt your strength slipping, even as you longed for a moment to simply stop. And now in this quiet, you are allowed to stop. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to let your shoulders drop, your jaw soften, your hands relax. You are allowed to let the breath you take in be enough to let the breath you release be a prayer, to let your breathing itself become a sacred act of trust. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Imagine yourself sitting on a quiet beach, the waves rolling in gently, the soft rhythm of the water matching the rhythm of your breath. The sky is wide above you, the stars scattered like small reminders of the vastness of grace, the moonlight casting a soft glow over the sand. The cool breeze carries the scent of salt and earth, grounding you, reminding you that you are alive, that you are here, that you are allowed to be. You think about how you have measured your worth by your productivity, by your usefulness, by your ability to keep up with the demands of your life and the expectations of others. You think about how you have carried the fear that if you stop, you will lose your place, that if you rest, you will fall behind, that if you let yourself be still, you will lose your value. But tonight, you are invited to believe that your worth is not in your doing, but in your being. You are invited to trust that you are loved, not for what you can produce, but for who you are exactly as you are in your tiredness, in your weakness, in your quietness. You can let your faith be as simple as your breath in and out, steady and gentle, a quiet reminder that you are alive, that you are here, that you are held. You can let your prayer be as simple as a whisper. God, let me rest. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. As you lie here, letting your breath slow, letting your body relax, letting your mind quiet, you can feel the presence of grace, like the gentle waves on the shore, constant and steady, washing over you, reminding you that you are not alone, that you are seen, that you are loved. You do not have to hold everything together tonight. You do not have to fix everything. You do not have to have all the answers. You can let yourself be held exactly as you are, in this moment, in this quiet. You are here, breathing, existing, loved. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You lie there, your breath quiet in the darkness, the softness of your pillow cradling your head, the blanket gently holding the shape of your resting body. You listen to the silence, letting it wash over the noise that still hums at the edges of your thoughts. You feel the heaviness of your eyelids, the slow rhythm of your breathing, the quiet reminder that you have made it to this moment, that you are allowed to simply be here exactly as you are. You think about the prayers you have spoken, the ones you've whispered into your pillow, the ones you've carried in your chest like small, fragile flames you tried to protect from the winds of doubt and disappointment. You think about the times you waited for an answer, for a sign, for something that would tell you heaven was listening, that your prayers had been heard, that you were not alone in the quiet. And yet sometimes the only answer you received was silence. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You remember the parable Jesus told of the persistent widow coming again and again to ask for justice, not giving up, not walking away, even when there was no immediate answer. You think about how faith sometimes looks like waiting, like returning to the same prayer, like trusting that being heard does not always mean receiving the answer you want, or the answer you expect, or the answer you understand. You think about how silence can feel like absence, how it can feel like being forgotten, like being unseen, like being left alone with your questions and fears. You think about how easy it is to believe that God's silence means God's distance, that unanswered prayers mean unworthy prayers, that your voice has gone unheard in the vastness of the universe. But what if the silence is not absence but presence? What if the quiet is not rejection but invitation? What if the waiting is not wasted but sacred? You breathe in slowly, letting the air fill your lungs, letting it out, letting yourself feel the rise and fall of your chest, the gentle reminder that you are alive, that you are here, that you are held. You feel the tension in your body begin to ease, the tightness in your chest softening as you let yourself rest in the quiet. Today, you might have felt the frustration of prayers that seem to go unanswered, of questions that remain unresolved, of desires that stay unmet. You might have felt the loneliness of silence, the ache of waiting, the discouragement of hoping for something you cannot see. And yet you are here, breathing, existing, loved. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Imagine yourself sitting beneath a wide open sky, the stars scattered above you like small lights in the darkness, the cool air brushing against your skin, the earth beneath you, steady and firm. You feel the vastness of the sky, the quiet of the night, the smallness of your own breath, in the midst of something so much larger than yourself. You feel the comfort of being small, the relief of not having to carry everything, the peace of knowing you are held by something beyond your understanding. You think about how you have tried to find answers, to understand, to control, to make sense of the silence. You think about how you have tried to fill the quiet with noise, to avoid the discomfort of waiting to escape the vulnerability of unanswered prayers. But tonight, you are invited to let the silence be what it is. You are invited to let yourself sit in the quiet, to let your unanswered prayers be prayers, to let your questions be questions, to let your faith be as small as your breath, as quiet as your resting heartbeat, as gentle as your tired whisper. You can let your prayer tonight be a simple one. God, I am here in the silence. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. As you lie here, letting your body sink deeper into the comfort of your bed, letting your breath slow, letting your mind rest. You can let yourself feel the presence of grace in the silence. You can let yourself believe, even if only for a moment, that you are not alone in the quiet, that your prayers are heard, even when the answer is silence, that you are seen even when you cannot see, that you are loved even when you feel unworthy. You are here, breathing, existing, loved. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You lie there, the hush of the night deepening around you, the air cool against your skin, the soft darkness wrapping itself around your body like a gentle, protective cloak. Your breath is slow, steady, a quiet rhythm that grounds you in this moment, reminding you that you are alive, that you have made it through another day, that you are allowed to be here in this stillness exactly as you are. You think about the burdens you have carried, the weight of expectations, the pressure to be enough, the quiet fears that whisper to you in the moments between distractions. You think about how hard you have tried to hold everything together, to keep going, to stay strong, even when your spirit was tired, even when your hope felt thin, even when your faith felt small. And tonight, in the quiet, you are invited to let it go. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. You remember the story of Jesus sleeping in the boat during the storm, the waves crashing around him, the wind howling, the disciples afraid, certain they were going to drown. You remember how Jesus woke calm, unafraid, speaking peace into the chaos, stilling the storm with a word. You think about how he was able to rest even in the midst of the storm. And you wonder if maybe you too are allowed to rest, even while the waves still move, even while the winds still blow. You think about the storms you have faced, the chaos you have navigated, the moments you have felt like you were sinking beneath the waves of your own fear, your own doubt, your own exhaustion. You think about how you have tried to manage it all, to keep the boat afloat, to control the storm with your own strength. And now in this quiet, you are allowed to stop striving. Today, you may have felt the storm inside you, the waves of anxiety, the winds of fear, the noise of all the things you cannot control. You may have felt like you needed to fix everything, to find a way to calm the chaos, to keep yourself and everyone else safe and steady. But tonight, you are allowed to let Jesus be the one who calms the storm. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Imagine yourself sitting beside a calm lake, the water still and smooth like glass, reflecting the moonlight, the stars, the soft shadows of trees that line the shore. You feel the cool breeze on your skin, the scent of earth and water, grounding you, reminding you that you are alive, that you are here, that you are held. You watch the small ripples on the surface of the water, the gentle movement that does not disturb the deep peace that lies beneath. You think about how you have tried to calm your own storms, to quiet your own fears, to carry your own burdens without help. You think about how heavy it has felt, how tiring it has been, how much you have longed for rest. And tonight, you are invited to rest. You are invited to let the waves be what they are, to let the winds blow as they will, to let yourself be still, trusting that you are held even in the storm, that you are loved even in the chaos, that you are safe even when everything feels uncertain. You can let your prayer tonight be a quiet one, God. I am tired. Please hold me. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. As you lie here, letting your breath slow, letting your body relax, letting your mind grow quiet, you can feel the presence of grace, like the still waters of the lake, deep and calm surrounding you, holding you, reminding you that you do not have to carry everything alone, that you do not have to be strong all the time, that you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to be here exactly as you are in your tiredness, in your fear, in your longing, in your quiet hope. You are allowed to rest in the love that holds you, the grace that meets you, the peace that is offered to you, even in the middle of your questions. You are here, breathing, existing, loved. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. Now, let the quiet deepen like the soft descent of dusk, turning into the comforting embrace of night. Let your breath lengthen. Let your shoulders release the last fragments of tension. Let your jaw unclench. Let the hush of this space remind you that there is nothing you need to do in this moment except to rest, to be, to let yourself be held. You have carried so much. The invisible weight of days spent doing fixing, tending to others, holding yourself together when it felt like the world might fall apart. The unseen burdens of thoughts you never voice, fears you tuck away behind smiles, questions you whisper only in the dark. The quiet ache for rest that you brush aside because there is always something more to do. But here right now, you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to let the world continue its spinning while you pause to receive the gift of breath, the gift of quiet, the gift of grace that does not ask you to earn it. Feel the softness of your bed beneath you, the gentle heaviness of your blanket, the coolness of the air that meets your skin with each inhale. Notice the rhythm of your breathing, steady and quiet, like a gentle tide rising and falling, reminding you that you are alive, that you are here, that you are enough. You do not have to fix yourself tonight. You do not have to sort out every question or find every answer. You do not have to make sense of everything that feels confusing. You are allowed to let it be, to let it rest, to let yourself rest. Perhaps it is enough to simply rest in grace tonight. And as your eyes grow heavier, as the darkness deepens around you, as your breath carries you gently towards sleep, remember this: God was here the whole time, even in the silence. Even when you could not feel it, you were held. Even when your prayers felt like whispers in the dark, they were heard. Even when you felt alone, you were seen, loved, known by the one who holds all things, including you. Let yourself drift, now gently, softly, into sleep. Let the quiet be your sanctuary, the darkness your comfort, the night your rest. Let the grace that has surrounded you in this moment carry you through the night, reminding you with each breath that you are safe, you are loved, you are held. Sleep well, dear soul.